Obasi, Nathaniel. I'm welcoming you to another interesting moment in our instructional video series on SLM 201, Principles of Soil Science. So we'll be considering soil classification and survey. I know you really have a wonderful time in this series. So join me as I take you along soil classification and survey. Thank you. You're highly welcome once again. I'm Dr. Obasi Nathaniel. Our topic today, today's instructional video is soil classification and survey. And owing to the existence of several thousands of types of soils throughout the world, it is necessary to classify them into groups that have similar observed properties. This practice helps us to understand and remember the traits of a particular soil and be able to develop good land policy for efficient soil management. This unit deals with the practice of soil classification, which is normally derived from soil reports. Soil maps are produced to define areas with similar soils and the location of other land resources. Now, concept and definition of soil classification. ESU 1999 defines soil classification as the systematic arrangement of soil into groups or categories on the basis of the observed properties. Observed properties are those that can be seen in the field or measured in the laboratories. Classification systems based on observed properties are usually called natural system or soil taxonomy. When soils are classified based on inferences from the observed properties, the classification system is called technical classification. Example is it could be inferred that crops grown on dark loam soil would have high yield. Therefore, soil classified on the basis of potential yield are technical. Purpose of classification. Why do we classify soil? Soil classification is useful for the following reasons: to organize information and knowledge on the soil that are understandable and useful. Soils are classified into groups to help us remember them, their names, and important properties. Organizing soils into groups with similar properties minimizes the problem of locating information about any one soil. It makes us to easily understand the relationships among individual soils being classified. So soil classification enables us to predict soil behavior and even estimate their productivity. By means of soil map, extrapolation of knowledge and information of one soil to others in other places by different soil scientists becomes possible through soil classification. So soil classification helps us to identify the best use of a particular soil. What are the processes involved in soil classification? A comprehensive study of the physical environment in which the soil is to be classified located. The parameters so studied include geology, geomorphology, vegetation, land use, drainage, climate of the area. A field mapping, soil characterization, and field sampling of soil is then carried out. More adequate knowledge of the soil characteristics is then sought through morphological and micromorphological studies of soil. Laboratory characterization of fine earth fractions of each horizon within the pedants. Elucidation of genetic factors of soil formation and the location between soils and the environment in which they are located. Systems of soil classification. In general, two broad kinds of soil classifications are recognized: natural or taxonomic classification, also termed scientific classification, as well as technical classification. A natural classification is one in which the purpose of classification is to bring out relationships of the most important properties of the population being classified without reference to any single specified and applied objective. A technical classification, on the other hand, is one in which aim at specific applied and practical purpose. For example, classifying soil for agriculture or engineering purpose, or even more specifically, classifying soil for maize production or irrigation. USDA soil taxonomy is a basic system of soil classification for making and interpreting soil surveys. Making an interpretation of soil surveys. Of course, USDA soil taxonomy is the most generally acceptable soil classification systems across the world. Canada has its own, Brazil has its own, Russia has classification system, even Africa has, However, soil classification of USDA soil classification is the most generally acceptable soil classification system in the world, and they have about 12 orders as of today. In 1975, there were 10 orders recognized according to Soil Survey Staff 95. In 1994, there were 11, but currently we have about 12 orders in the USDA soil classification of African soils. The most prevalent group of African soils are usually 4 groups described below. These are ferruginous tropical soils, and they are soils which have A, B, C, D horizons designation. Some may have B1, B2, where the B could be a textural one in which clay is accumulating. Ferry soils, soils in this group are characterized by high base content, good structure, as well as high biological activities. The surface of aggregates may have a glossy appearance due to aggregation of sesquiosite clays. The silica-sesquiosite ratios such as silicate oxide, aluminum oxide, and ferrous oxide may be less than 2, especially in the clay component, which confers low cation exchange capacity on the soil. Ferritic soils are soils that reflect the final stage of weathering and leaching, whereby only the least mobile and least weatherable constituents remain. Even kaolinites may be altered. Soils are very deep with poor horizon differentiation, where only A2 or textural B, heaviest texture formed due to clay alluviations, may be present. Hydromorphic soils are soils which are under the influence of water table. They are known by the degree of mottling present. There is usually the rise and fall of water table over the soils, resulting in variegated color of mottling. Now, soil survey, as we said, that soil survey has to do with systematic examination, classification, description, and mapping of soils of an area. Soil survey helps the extension and adaptation of research knowledge from one area to another. However, soil survey emphasizes on the less changeable properties of pardon and sites, such as physical and mineralogy of pardon and its climate. Changes such as fertilizer and lime regime are not usually indicated in a soil survey report. Now, we have types of soil survey. Soil survey are of 6 types, namely schematic. An example is FAO UNESCO map of 1975 that has its scale of 1:5 million. 1:5 million, and it has a very small scale. Also, exploratory soil survey is the one that has its scale as from 1:250,000 to 1:1 million. Reconnaissance soil survey 100,000 to 250,000 scale, that is 1 is to that. Semi-detail is 1:25,000 to 1:100,000. Detailed is 1:10,000 to 1:25,000. Very detailed is any map that has scale less than 1:10,000. The type adopted depends on the level of detail required from the soil activities. Explain soil classification and soil survey. Discuss the types we have in each category. Conclusion. For efficient and effective land use, soil scientists survey land and prepare a soil map on which the soil in the area are classified based on observable and unchangeable soil properties. Thank you.